So I'd like to explore with you this evening Jishin Inga, the deep faith in cause and effect. And I would understand this basically as it matters what we do. It matters what we do. And to me, this deep faith in cause and effect is such an interesting uh, phrase. The first half, the deep faith, it sounds very religious. Yeah. And the second half of cause and effect, it sounds very scientific. It could be something right out of a physics textbook. So the word faith, um, some people have a kind of negative reaction to it, and some people really like it. Yeah, and sometimes associated with blind faith, which is then like, oh, not so helpful. And sometimes people have had like negative childhood experiences with religious tradition. So personally, I grew up fundamentalist Christian, and I, there was a period of time where I felt quite wounded by that. And it's been, for me, it's been healing to like reclaim some of these words and to see the kind of depth and breadth that are possible of them. And so to sort of uh, allow them to be transformed. So uh, I think in some way we all have faith or trust in something. We have, like a good example I think is gravity. Yeah. We all have some faith that, if we pick something up and drop it, that it's going to fall. This is our experience. And so this is our how we have faith that this is how the world works. We've seen it happen before, and we have faith that it'll still happen today. Martin Luther King Jr. is said to have said that faith is taking the first step when we can't see the whole staircase. And one of the things I really appreciate with that quote is that it moves faith in the direction of being a verb, of being an action. Um, so, for instance, if I say, I have faith, I believe that like the Cranberry Meadow pond down the road is frozen solid enough to walk on. But I'm not going to walk on it. Then, then it's a question. Do I really think that that's true? But if I, just go and walk out on the pond, then it's obvious that that is my impression, that it's solid enough that's going to hold me up. And so, in some ways, our faith is a kind of action, of what we do, is expressing what it is that our faith is. Sitting zazen is also a kind of faith. In the midst of that, there's aspects of it we don't understand. Something pulls us to it. So this phrase, deep faith in cause and effect, is the title of one of Dogen Zenji's fascicles in his masterwork, Shobogenzo. And so what did he mean by deep faith? I'm not sure we can know, but perhaps exactly this, that it's faith that's expressed in action. So specifically acting in ways that are aware of cause and effect. And so cause and effect maybe sounds scientific because it kind of is, right? That this noticing causal relationships is a lot of what science does. And Dogen says that to think that cause and effect doesn't exist is like being ignorant that a shadow follows an object or that an echo follows a sound. So he also draws this analogy with the way that things physically work. And so the cause and effect that he's talking about is what we sometimes refer to as karma, right? Which karma is also just that action and result. That skillful results will come from skillful actions. Unskillful results come from unskillful actions. Dogen also says in that the principle of causality is obvious and impersonal, that it's going to uh, simply happen, be the next result. And so sometimes it's obvious, and maybe sometimes it's not obvious, right? There's the story in Denkaroku in the Transmission of Light, where Keizan Zenji tells the story of the 20th ancestor Jayata, who came to his teacher um, back in India and said to him, uh, he said, "My parents have always been pious Buddhists, but they have been plagued by sickness and failure of their undertakings. Our neighbors, on the other hand, are butchers, yet they are always healthy and successful. What is their luck, and what is wrong with us?" So you we can wonder that, right? That's like, why is this happening? Why is it that people who are doing things that seem like they're harmful seem to be thriving? Or why is it that people who are doing things that seem so good, yet they have troubles? And the traditional answer is that the repercussion is then within, which is in three times, in this lifetime or in the next lifetime or in a further lifetime after that. And what we know or don't know about future past lives, I think it can be helpful just that expansion of that there can be ways that the repercussions of our actions happen in a time frame that I'm not so aware of, that it's not the one that I'm usually operating in, or that it's beyond the bounds of what I usually consider myself, that perhaps there's also the family ancestral repercussions, karma. So Keizan Zenji, in his commentary on this case of Jayata, said, "If you want to see your original basic mind, put down myriad concerns, set all mental involvements to rest, don't think of good or bad, and set your eyes on the tip of your nose and look at your original mind. When the one mind is silent, all forms done with, then the branches and the leaves, karma and its results do not remain." That in Zazen, in our sitting practice, that it melts away the root of our transgressions. And this is good news, right? That some of our unskillful actions, that the full ramifications of those from the past, you may not dictate the future, right? That there's a possibility of then again what we do mattering, that what we do has an effect. And that this within Zazen, we're letting go of our tight grip of like, this is who I am. This is what I am. This is how I will be in future situations. And so this self-orientation can become a bit more permeable. The danger that Dogen is addressing in this deep faith in cause and effect is that if we then think that, oh, I don't need to worry about cause and effect because I'm beyond good and bad, so it doesn't matter. Yeah. And that's one of the places where the teachings can be misunderstood. When like the sixth ancestor says, do not think good or bad, and this letting go of our ideas of good and bad, that it can seem like how do we hold this kind of seeming paradox of the universal absolute of not splitting into dualistic good and bad, right and wrong, and at the same time, the particular relative of that there's you and me, that then it makes a difference how we treat each other. And this is, I think, part of the surprising fullness of the precepts. Within our Soto Zen tradition, the precepts form the main part of the ceremony for uh, becoming a lay student, becoming a priest, for Dharma transmission. And for each of ceremonies, it's the same precepts. And that these precepts then hold also this fullness of the relative and absolute. That, for instance, that first precept of not killing, affirming life, is then with Bodhidharma's one mind precepts is worded as self-nature is wondrous and imperceptible. Within the everlasting Dharma, not arousing the view of extinction is called the precept of not killing. So that then one aspect of these precepts is recognizing that there's a way in which there's nothing separate from me that can be destroyed. And at the same time, not a lower level, there's also the literal way of understanding the precept that's equally important of not harming, not of affirming life. One of the most moving phrases to me within the Jukai ceremony is that for each of the precepts, then it's asked, from now on, and even after acquiring Buddhahood, will you uphold this? For each of the precepts, from now on, and even after acquiring Buddhahood, will you uphold this? And I think it's both encouraging, and I think the first time hearing it, I was kind of surprised. Oh, well, even after attaining Buddhahood. And it's also saying there'll be no point where I'm beyond it mattering what I do. At at every time, it will always matter. What is it that I do? What is it that I'm doing? Shakyamuni Buddha in the Pali Canon speaks often of that if we act in a harmful way, that pain follows. If we act in a skillful way, then ease can follow. In the Lokavipata Sutta, he spoke of the 8 worldly conditions: gain and loss, praise and blame, status and disgrace, pleasure and pain. And he says that for the ordinary person, there arises within the world gain, loss, status, disgrace, praise, blame, pleasure, pain. And when you read it, then you think he's going to say that they don't all arise for the practitioner. But that's not what he says. He says, and they equally arise for the practitioner. That someone practicing the Buddha way also experiences gain and loss, status, disgrace, praise, blame, pleasure, pain. And he says that the difference is in the response to it. That then, as a practitioner, we can recognize, in all 8 cases, this is impermanent. So recognizing for both gain and loss, this is impermanent. Recognizing for both status or disgrace, this is impermanent. Recognizing for both praise and blame, this is impermanent. For pleasure and pain, this is impermanent. So these are also sometimes called the 8 worldly winds, which then brings to mind to me that the poem by Dogen's teacher, Tendo Nyojo, the wind bell. The whole body is like a mouth hanging in empty space. Whether the wind is from east, west, south, or north, ringing out prajna for all beings, ding dong, ding dong. How is it possible? Certainly not easy. How is it possible to then, whatever our life circumstances are, to meet them in a way that then rings of wisdom? Zen teacher Zuiko Redding's commentary on this, that she says, it's this bit of emptiness we call me, hanging in the emptiness of reality right now. We are infinite possibility realizing itself. We are not that person who did that thing yesterday. We are this person right here, right now, formed by our past actions, but not obstructed by them. Whatever our past actions were, how can we then, in this moment, with whatever the circumstances are, whichever direction the wind's blowing, how can we meet this moment in a way that's then of benefit? So that we have this possibility of responding to whatever it is that's here now in a way that rings out wisdom. That we can have this deep faith in cause and effect. That we can know that it matters what we do.